Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm here to talk to you about deaf education and exactly what that is. So last week I talked to you about what an RA is and what all of that means. So this week I thought I'd talk about deaf education. So the reason I'm covering all these intro videos for bullet journaling, RA, and deaf education is because those are going to be kind of the focuses of my channel as it progresses. So I am in school for deaf education. I'm in college. I'm going to be a sophomore. It is now the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, so I will be a sophomore in the fall, and I'm still taking my undergraduate classes of we call them non-major classes. So it's classes that don't really go through major. These are classes where if you have AP credits or dual enrollment credits, those are the classes that those count for. So it's kind of like some more high school classes to make sure you have a basis in order to go into your major classes. So your major classes are the classes that really kind of get your degree. So it's the ones that are specialized in whatever you're taking, whatever your major is, your minor, whatever. So for me, there's going to be a lot of special education classes and different education classes and deaf education classes specifically. So like I said, it's deaf education as in people that can't hear. If you're searching for this around different colleges for trying to figure out if they have this major, you'll typically see education of the deaf and hard of hearing, or you'll see deaf education. Same thing, just worded differently. I personally use deaf education because that's what my college calls it, and it's easier to say than education of the deaf and hard of hearing. That's a long title. And sometimes I'll just say special education because it is a specialization under special education. A lot of people that know me know that I do know sign language. I took it in high school and will continue to take it in college, but they just think, oh, she's just going to teach sign language or something like that. They don't realize, or be an interpreter. They just think I'm going to be an interpreter. And I'm like, no, that's an interpreting major. I'm going to be a teacher. So it can get a little confusing for someone that doesn't know, so that's why I wanted to inform you all of what it means, and if you guys are interested in doing that, or if you were just kind of curious about what it was. Now you know it's a special education degree, but it's specifically, so what's going to happen is you're going to be a teacher and you're going to teach deaf children. Now you can go into this degree in order to become an ASL teacher, but I personally would recommend going into interpreting for that because you're going to really focus on the language. Where in deaf education, you're going to learn the language, you're going to learn a sign language, but the focus is going to be on the education part of deaf students and the different challenges that come with teaching them, where interpreting is going to focus on the language. So if you want to teach the language, I feel like it'd be more beneficial to go into interpreting than it would be to go into deaf education. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But you can go into interpreting or into deaf education in order to teach sign language, but for the most part, people that go into deaf education are going to be teaching deaf children. So all public schools, there has to be one elementary, middle, and high school in each district that provides a deaf program. Which is a program that provides a special education division for deaf children so that they can get the proper education. So for example, some deaf children might have cochlear implants, some might have hearing aids, some might have complete hearing loss, some might have minimal hearing loss but still need that smaller classroom environment, more one-on-one teaching. Some might be might be mainstreaming, and mainstreaming is where they're trying to get them to the proper level of the normal grade level. So let's say they're in 2nd grade, but they're only reading at a kindergarten grade level. So they might be in your classroom for reading. And you'll help them get to the point where they can be mainstreamed into their normal classroom. And that might be, for half of the subjects, a couple of subjects, only 1 or 2 subjects, and the rest they're in your classroom. or it could be just all the subjects except for like reading, for example. So it's a very like fluid kind of classroom, because you're gonna have, every student's gonna be different, because it depends on their learning level, their level of deafness or hard of hearingness. So like it just really is different for every student. There might also be classrooms that are ASL only. The students don't have any cochlear implants or hearing aids. So there's a lot of different scenarios for your students that you're gonna have. And then there's a deaf school, like a public deaf school per state, and all of those are required by law. And then there might be other ones like private schools that are for deaf children, or if it's a really big district, they might have multiple elementary schools that have the deaf program. So it just kind of depends on the district and the state on what schools are provided. Typically, you're going to have a small classroom that range in grades. If you're in a public school that has a deaf program, the deaf program is probably not going to be too big, but it really just depends how many deaf people live in that area. Now, if you're in a deaf school, it's going to be more like you would expect a traditional public school classroom to be. They're going to be bigger. They're not going to be huge. They're going to be bigger. They're going to have different layouts for their classroom. So if you're in a deaf school, you're going to primarily have ASL only classes, because if you're sent to a deaf school, you're typically more against having cochlears, but that's not always the case. It could be a happy mix, or even hearing aids, but in a public school, you'll see cochlear implants. So like I said, it's very situational on each student. You might have a student with a lot of different disabilities that come with their deafness, or that like happened, and deafness was another diagnosis that they had on top of some other issues. So you might have, as a deaf educator, you might have to deal with more than just having a deaf student. Now also, if you're in certain schools, they might really focus on speech and might make you only teach speech, not teach any sign language. Other schools might be like, if they don't want speech, that's fine. If they do, that's fine. So just know that if you're going into this, really, and you want to teach a specific way, if you don't want to focus on speech, you only want to focus on classrooms with sign language, when you're finding a job, look for that. Because it's a big deal. Like, some people in the deaf community don't want to learn how to talk. They don't want to be forced to use our language, English, if they have their own language, American Sign Language, or whatever sign language they use. So there's a lot of different things that play into it. Me personally, I really like using speech and teaching them speech, but also teaching them sign language and using that to kind of integrate both of the deaf and the hearing world together. So I would love to teach in a public school. I am completely hearing, and I do know ASL. I love ASL. I want to involve. I see benefits of learning English and speech, really beneficial, but I also don't want to take away their culture and their language. So I want to involve both. So in my classroom, I plan to teach in verbally, by speech, and in sign language at the same exact time. But that's just what I would hope for my classroom, but we'll see how that works out. And if this channel continues on to when I graduate and start my master's, my plan is to take 4 years for my undergrad, and then they have a 5th year master program, which means instead of taking 2 years to get your master's, you'll only take your master's for 1 extra year and a summer. So you spend the summer between your undergrad and your master's taking, I think, 4 online classes, 3 or 4 online classes. So I'll come home and live at home most likely, and save some money, but we will see what happens. And then my first semester of that master's year, I will be taking, I think it's like 2 online classes, and then your part-time student teaching, and then your last year, your full-time student teaching, so you're in a classroom every day. So I have some connections with some schools around here, my hometown, so I probably plan to come here. I love the schools I've seen, so be in those programs here hopefully and get some connections and student teach here and save some money by living at home. So I plan to do that, and hopefully I am still continuing with this YouTube channel and I can kind of change my focus to hopefully maybe still bullet journaling, I don't know, we'll see, but also doing deaf education videos, different, you know, I don't know if I'd be able to take you into the classroom really, but just kind of talking about like what it's like to be a deaf educator, because I said this in my intro video. I searched in YouTube probably like a couple months ago, before I started this YouTube channel, I searched deaf educator, education of the deaf, stuff like that, into YouTube to see if there was anyone who was doing this job who I could follow on YouTube, just to kind of get another sense of what this job is like. But I didn't really find anything. I found some specials on some like BBC, stuff like that, like news sources. So like short little like 20-minute clips, maybe an hour clip. It just really wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for more of like a modern, upbeat, like kind of like a vlog kind of channel and advice thrown into it. But I really just wanted something like that to help me see what this job is like, and I was inspired to start a channel like that for people who are wanting to be a deaf educator in their future, so that they have someone to look at and see, okay, this is what this job is like, I think I could do that, or maybe that's not for me. But just, you know, have another resource for people to learn about it and see what that job is like. But of course, I am not there yet in my personal career, so hopefully I will get to that point and be able to share with you guys and be that influencer that shows what that job is like. So yeah, I think that is all I have to cover with you guys. If you guys have any questions, again, I'd love to see your comments, so please leave comments down below if you have any questions. If you guys have a lot, maybe I'll do a Q&A to answer some questions, or even if you have questions about college or bullet journaling, RA, whatever it is, or deaf education, please leave comments down below. I would love to do a Q&A, that'd be really fun. And I will see you guys for another video next week. Bye. Thanks for watching.